computer. Okay, we are recording. What is going on, cats and kittens, dude and dudettes, friends of the program, or just my friends in real life? What's going on? It's a Friday evening. We're coming at you live from the little bedroom studio that I got for episode 11. I'm joined by a special guest. She has her own podcast herself. I would say she's a baseball and Yankees fanatic. She's just like really cool. This is actually the first time we're meeting, so this is very unique. Also, shout out to the homie Spencer Stisek for like making this kind of happen. So without further ado, welcome Dani from Dani's Dugout.
Hello.
How are you doing, Dani? How's your Friday going?
It's going good. I just moved into a new spot, so it's just been a day of unpacking madness, and that's about it.
Oh, moving is fun. Where are you at? Or like, would you move into?
I keep that disclosed for myself due to stalkers that are a real and total thing. So, but I'm in a house for the first time in my life. I've never lived in a house, so it's kind of cool. I've always lived in apartments from like being a Manhattan girl, like, you know, you live in apartments your entire life, but I live in a house now. It's kind of cool. Doesn't suck. So that's that. Unpacking is really suckish though, but it's also really kind of cool. Like I've moved 22 times now. So Manhattan, I've lived literally all over New York State. It's probably, you could tell that I am the definition of a New Yorker. I've lived upstate, Long Island, Manhattan, and I now live in an undisclosed location.
Okay.
But now, like, it's always kind of cool to me because then you get to like kind of pack all your shit. I always pack everything. I don't throw anything out until I get to the new place, and then I'm like, nah, fuck, get rid of this, get rid of that. Ooh, can I curse on this? I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is
okay.
Just flowing.
Okay, good. Because I'm just like, fuck this, get rid of that. I don't want this. Why the fuck did I even pack this? And it's like really kind of like a cleansing moment where you're just like, okay, new space, new situations. What's going to happen here?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, congrats on the move. That's exciting. And it's always kind of like a cool to restart. I mean, growing up, I kind of moved around a lot. I made the jump from San Diego to Buffalo my senior year of high school. So
I'm
also in New York State, but that's another conversation. But also congrats on the 2-year mark of Dani's Dugout. I believe you called it the birth anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
yes, because it was born on that day, and then it's the anniversary of it because it's like its birthday, but at the same time, like you call things like that the anniversary of whatever. So I'm like, it's a birth anniversary. That's what it is.
I completely understand. I mean, you know, this podcast, and I'm sure you're with Dani's Dugout, it's like your baby. So it's like,
yes,
it was born, you know?
This is my child, and I'm going to take as much care of it longer than like most people take care of their children, which is like 18 years. Like, I'm going to take care of this baby till I die. So this is its birth anniversary.
Absolutely. And then just building it from the ground up. That's what I love. That's why I love talking to people such as yourself, just to hear deeper into like what you're doing and all that. So, I guess let's go into baseball a little bit. I feel like this is going to be a really good conversation because I see, you know, you're a very passionate baseball fan. But I guess, I mean, is that where like Dani's Dugout was inspired by? Just like because of your love for baseball and the Yankees?
Yep. It was literally created out of pure passion for the sport. And it was also created out of a factor of, I won't lie, fear. I had been a model, which I kind of like still am, but I'm not like professionally doing it anymore. It's just more of like, if a friend calls me and they're like, yo, we need somebody and we know that you're good at working, I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll do it. But like now I don't have to worry about my body being a certain type and a certain fit and whatever. I can literally go downstairs and eat a cookie right now and not regret it, basically, because I don't have a photo shoot at 5 a.m. anymore. So there was like that whole Me Too movement happening. Actually, it was happening within the industry before anybody else really knew it. But I saw all of this nasty stuff turning in the industry. And my career was kind of going on the downhill because if you can't tell, I say it how it is. I don't mind speaking up. And in that industry, like, you're kind of not allowed to do that as a woman. And I would call people out on their bullshit. I called out my agents for stealing money from me. I called out a guy who tried to molest me, and I was just like, no, like I got myself out of a situation, so I was fine. But like, I called these people out, and they didn't like that there. And this was literally maybe a year before the Me Too movement happened. So no. Yes. I can't do math that quickly in my head. Anyways, so it was just
Right.
like maybe like 6 months to a year before that happened. And I was like, fuck this shit. Why am I putting myself in this toxic position where I need to be this pristine image of a female, and I'm not by any means necessary. I'm the definition of the geek that loves Marvel and wants to go to a baseball game, drink a bottle of tequila, and tell my team to go fuck itself. Like, that's who I am.
Love it.
And I'm also a straight up New Yorker. I'm an Italian female who's grown around strong women. Who, my grandmother was not a CEO. She was a vice president of a marble company. She built her way up from like a vice president. Can't speak today. She built herself up from the vice president's secretary to the vice president of the company. So like, this is what I grew around. And I have no filter. So I didn't do well in this niche of an industry. And I was scared. I'm like, I don't want to leave this because this is all I've ever known. Like, I dropped out of high school to be this. This is all I've ever wanted. Because when I was a little kid, like, I wanted to be a vet, but I also wanted to be the first female manager of a baseball team. And my family's like, that's not going to happen. And I'm like, oh, they're probably right. That's not going to happen. Like, I'm not supposed to play. I'm not even allowed to play baseball. I have to play douchebag softball. Like, they're right. So I went down the other path. I was like, okay, I want to be a Victoria's Secret angel. I even got a tattoo on my finger of Victoria's Secret marrying my goals. And I'm rambling here, but either way. So long story short, I went to a Yankee game with my friends. Well, I was super like freaked out and I was upset, and they saw me at the bar the night before. They're like, hey, I can get us passes onto the field tomorrow. Do you want to go? And I'm like, what? Like, all of a sudden my like frown went the other way, and I was like, I could stand on the field during batting practice? What did you just say to me? Like, I could stand on Yankee Stadium field, and I'm like freaking out in the bar. And my friend's like, yeah, like, do you want to go? Like, you seem kind of upset, and I know this will perk you up. I'm like, yes. So mind you, I worked till 5 o'clock in the morning, and the game was at 1 p.m. So that means I had to be at the stadium at 11 a.m. to go to batting practice. So I didn't sleep at all. And I get there, and I'm like, so excited. I have such a big smile on my face. It's disgusting. And I'm just like so happy. There's a picture of me leaning on the dugout and just staring at the stadium. That is that day. And long story short, we go upstairs, we're watching the game. I've got like the family, because we got tickets from a friend of his on the Blue Jays. The family of a Blue Jays kid is sitting right behind me. He's the starting pitcher of the game. And McCutchen hits a home run off of this kid. I stand out. I'm like, oh, McCutchen, this is awesome. It's a first, like, home run, first inning. This is great, wonderful. And then I turned around. I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I sat back down. And then the father was just like, this girl got her tickets from this fan, from this guy on this team, and she's over here rooting for the other team. She's in the wrong section. And I kept my composure so well. My friends were scared. They're like, oh shit, this girl is gonna freak out right now. And I just went under my breath and I was like, I'm in the wrong section. You're in the wrong fucking stadium, douchebag. And my friend's like holding on to my leg, like, she didn't say it out loud. Thank God she didn't say it out loud. She didn't say it out loud. And then I waited till the inning was over, and I looked at my friend and I was like, we should probably go downstairs. And he's like, well, the guy left. Let's just stay for another half an inning, and then we'll go downstairs and we'll stand by my friend who's a bartender. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. Because yes, I have a bartender at Yankee Stadium. If you would think that I didn't, you're crazy. All right, he's my boy. I love him more than life itself. So while we're sitting in that inning and I'm just yelling at the game and freaking out, he's just like, I figured it out. And I'm staring at the game going, what did you figure out? He's like, I know what you want to do. Like, you should do. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like staring at the stadium, not staring at him. I'm staring at the stadium. And I'm like, what did you figure out? He's just like, what you should do. What should I do? You should do this. What is this? Like, not answering it. He's like, you should make a podcast and talk about baseball. And jokingly, I'm like, yeah, because that's going to work. What am I going to do? Call it Dani's Dugout? And he goes, that's exactly what you call it. And I'm like, I was just making a sexual reference. You're not like interacting with this. And then finally I go downstairs, take like 3 or 4 shots of tequila, and I'm like, you know what? That's a great idea. I should do this. And that was the birth of Dani's Dugout. I'm not even kidding.
I love that. That's a great story.
It's a really long ramble. I'm terribly sorry.
No, this is a podcast. You're allowed to talk. So no need to rant. Like I'm curious myself. So I think I'm fascinated by that story. I mean, well, going back to the modeling, I don't know about that world at all, but I'm assuming from what you described, they kind of just want someone that will shut up and take pictures and not cause trouble. So the fact that you spoke up, they were like, oh, whoa. And then it led to another thing. But I think it's really cool that you, just how that, cause I mean, like the name of this podcast, RPD, like my friend calls me that as a joke, like as like Ryan Pod Daddy, like every time he sees me. And then I was like, I wanted to do this too. So like I was stressing over a name. I'm like, fuck, I want like a good name that, and he was like, yo, RPD. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. So like, I kind of relate to what you're saying about how it's just like, sometimes when you're trying to figure out something, just like naming it, just flying it off. And it's like, oh my God. What?
It just finally comes to you. Yeah. That's what happened when, so Dani's Dugout is growing into its whole new beast right now. And I created a media company at this point, and we're adding a football podcast, but we're testing it out on my baseball podcast because I'm like, do they want to hear football? So, cause I have a lot of baseball fans, but baseball fans are also football fans. So right. I'm like, do they want to hear football? And it's not going to come from me. It's coming from a friend of mine whose name is ironically Dani. And I named it Dani's Game of Inches because I'm keeping up with the sexual innuendos. It's just happening. It's how this works. That's okay. If you can't figure out these two are sexual innuendos in and of themselves, you don't know me well. So I was talking to my sister, and I was like, yo, what do we call this? Like, because I didn't even ask my friend Dani if she would do it. I was like, I'll just learn football. It's not that I don't know it. I just don't care. There's a difference. There's no passion there. So it's not like I can really give it everything that I can give on Dani's Dugout. And I was like, it's got to say sexual. It's got to say this. It's got to say that. And I'm like, what's sexual about football? I'm like, I don't know anything. And she's like, well, it is a game of inches. And I just burst out laughing. I'm like, oh my God, it is. And I was like, so I've got a videographer. I've got a video guy right now making my intro, and it's going to be the measuring tape pulling out to measure it up. And then it's going to say Dani's Game of Inches. And I'm like, if nobody understands this, I'm going to be so upset. And I got the girl to be okay with all of this just because she was just like, all right, look, if I'm going to sign up for this, you got to put some pink in it. I'm like, I got to sell this off to men, and you want me to put pink in the name? I have to put pink. I'm like having a mental breakdown because I'm like, no, purple. I go purple. And she's like, Dani, pink. I'm like, okay, all right, I can put pink trimming on this, and like that's it. That's all that's happening. You can't go girly. Like we're not selling this product to women. We're selling it to men. Men watch football. Yes, women watch football, but like women will listen to us because it'll be like, oh yay, another female's talking about football. So I'm like, stop with the pink. And yeah, so Dani's Dugout's turning into its own new beast, and I totally forgot where I was going with this. And I remember now. And me and my best friend are making a podcast that has nothing to do with sports. And it's going to be about everything. Like, pick a thing other than politics, because it's one thing that, the two of us don't necessarily agree upon. Like, we respect each other, but it's like that, it's that one boundary where it's just like, we don't talk about this because people have the right to their own opinion. So we pretty much were like, all right, we're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about fitness. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about space, science, this, everything. Pick a topic. We are going to hit it. We're going to do interviews on it. And we're still sitting here like, what the fuck is the name of this podcast? Figuring out a name of a podcast is probably the most difficult but crucial factor in building a podcast and a business around it.
Absolutely.
And that was my point. And I took a really long time to get there, and I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm drinking tequila. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me too. So cheers. Happy Friday.
Yay.
Yeah.
My stepmom comes up to me because I'm like, we're unpacking and shit. She's just like, do you want apple cider? And I'm like, can I put tequila in it? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. Apple cider tequila. Cheers.
That's amazing. What's your, like, do you have like a favorite brand or
so because I'm very authentic and truthful with my fans, and I'm actually not allowed to say because I signed an exclusivity contract with the Hiatus brand.
Oh, okay.
So
very cool.
Right now, I even tell, here's the thing though. I tell them all the time, I'm like, that exclusivity, I'm like, it's there in a sense of I won't post anything about any other alcohol, but if I'm on somebody else's podcast, so I like Clase Azul, I like Don Julio Real, I like Don Julio 1942, Reposado, all of those. But what I've learned while starting to work with this company is how much additives are added into these tequilas and the caramels and like things like that to make them taste a little bit better and taste a little bit sweeter. And it makes them do the aging process a little bit less, cost them less money. And that's how you end up with a hangover.
Uh-huh.
This company literally adds no additives into their alcohol. And you can literally taste it. If you put the two next to something else, you're like, oh, this tastes like caramel. This tastes like vanilla. There's a clear difference in it. And that's because it's aged in like oak barrels or whiskey barrels that had vanilla in them already. So that's what gives it that flavor and stuff like that. And it's really interesting. So Hiatus is actually the tequila that I am currently drinking and is in this glass right now. So I'm not going off brand, okay. But I do love Clase Azul and I do love 1942. Like those are my babies. Those are my, I'm going to spend $160 on this bottle and I don't care.
Those are great choices, but I'm definitely going to check out Hiatus just because I always love, you know, when someone plugs me with something or just tells me about it, I'm going to try it. Like I'm a big
Hold on. Oh. Did you know that Tesla just came out with a tequila?
No. This is
Tesla? Like... This is a real thing. It's called Tequila. Tesla just came out with a tequila. Elon Musk just released a tequila and he just sold out every bottle that he made. And I'm like, what the hell? So I made a joking post on Twitter because everybody's freaking out what's going on in the world right now. And I'm like, guys, fuck what's going on right now. Did you not notice that Tesla came out with a tequila? Can we all talk about this? Like, this guy makes cars, and now he's coming out with tequila. I need to know. I have to know.
That flew right under the radar. I mean, the alcohol business is pretty nuts. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but Ryan Reynolds in his aviation gin line, he I think he's like a $500 million deal or something like that, you know, with...
George Clooney sold his Casamigos for $1 billion.
Yeah, like what? And I mean, and you know, here I'm right now. I'm drinking the Rocks. What's it called? Termana. Like I like that one because it's.
I haven't tried it yet because I've been working with Hiatus that I haven't even had a chance to.
I understand.
Everywhere I go, I'm like, oh, I'm like, Hiatus is here. I want it, and I take a picture and I send it to him because I'm like, look, I'm excited.
Well, I'm definitely gonna check out Hiatus, and when I get a bottle, I'm gonna be like, Dani sent me, and they'll be like, oh, hell yeah. So that's
perfect. Sounds good.
Yeah, of course. Always trying to help out people. But going back to baseball a little bit, I mean, this may be kind of a dumb question, but so like why, I mean, obviously you said you're like the New Yorker, like you are a New Yorker, like the definition of it. So I'm just curious to like why the Yankees, like what made, I mean, you kind of alluded to what kind of made, I mean, I don't know if you said what made you fall in love with them, but you've alluded to your time at the game that you had. But is it because of your roots in New York, or is it just like that's what you grew up watching? Or
it's both of those, but it's my grandpa and my dad. So I grew up like in my family. You could be any basketball fan, you could be any football fan, but if you're not a Yankee fan, you're disowned. You just
That's
don't.
great. That's great.
And I was the first female in my family after 40 years. It's always just been men. So when I was born, like I had my older brother, and he would get like, and my grandma would be like, oh, let's do this and let's do this. And I'm like, can I go play football with them? Can I go play catch with them? Okay, we have to watch Shirley Temple. Okay. Like, I like Shirley Temple, but can I go play baseball with Grandpa and Victor? Can I go play football? Like, I would always ask to go do these things with the boys, but I would always be stuck, like, hanging out with the girls. And it's not to say that my grandmother is girly, because she really isn't. Like, she's the head honcho in the household. Like, her and great grandma are like, no, we don't put up with any bullshit. Like, yeah, we cook, we clean, we take care of our men, but at the end of the day, we might do all the work, but they do all the work. Like, when we tell them to do something, they get up and they go do it. And I'm like, okay. So, like, but I was always like, I want to hang out with Grandpa. So what I did, 5 or 6 year old little me, who's dyslexic, by the way, couldn't read for shit and had to go to all these reading classes because I'm so dyslexic. It is disgusting. Like, I have to put this yellow sheet over paper, or like my screen, like I have to make it yellow for, like, it's something that tricks your brain, and then it can help you see correctly and see the words correctly. Really weird. Been doing it my entire life. It helps. Dyslexia, it's fun. But literally, I go into my grandfather's office and I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I do to hang out with Grandpa? And I'm looking, and all I see is a Mickey Mantle everywhere. Just Yankee stuff and stuff about Rome and like history, because my grandfather was a history teacher. So all I see is Rome, like economic stuff, because my grandfather also taught an economics class. And then literally half of the room was just Yankee shit. And I'm like, I think I should go over here. So I grabbed a couple of books, and what I thought was reading is what I did. I read books, and I just kind of flipped, and I saw pictures of Mickey Mantle and like Babe Ruth, and I'm like, okay, baseball. This guy throws the ball. This guy this. I'm like, just picturing things. And then I go downstairs, and it's baseball season. The game is on, and Grandpa is yelling at the TV like, what are you doing? That's not this. That's not that. And I'm looking at Grandpa. I'm like, Grandpa, why are you yelling at the TV? And he's just like, listen, you need to learn this right now. Whatever you yell at the TV while these guys are playing, they hear you. They know what you're saying. And I'm like, but they're in the TV, Grandpa. And like at that age, you're like, no, but they're in the TV. They can't hear you. There's a TV in the way. And he's like, no. They hear you. And by the way, they're in a different area. They're not in the TV. That's just projecting it. And I still, whatever. But I'm like, so they can hear me? Okay, cool. I could do that. And Grandpa would yell, and I'd be like, yeah, well, Grandpa said. And like, that's how like my love and passion started building. I started focusing on watching games, and my grandpa would notice this, and he'd be like, okay, so what just happened there? And he's the teacher, so he loved to teach. And that's how I learned the game. And then he would give me history about the game and what record had just been broken, or what record it is that it needs to be beat, and this is who set this record, and then this was the average back then, and this is how the game's changed. And I would just sit there like a sponge, soaking in everything, which is why I know all of my crazy baseball facts, which is why I talk about old school baseball, because I was literally raised on old school baseball, and I hate analytics. So yeah, my grandpa ruined me. And then I ended up being more of a psychopath than he is, which is funny. Like, you think he yells at, like, I joke around. I'm like, people are always like, well, your grandpa's hysterical when he watches game. I'm like, you think he yells at the TV? You should watch me watch a game. I'm like, I'm the same person. My grandmother, during quarantine, so I left my apartment because of all the stuff that was happening in New York City, and it wasn't safe. I left my apartment. I went to my grandparents' house, and I'm there. And the games, we finally got the games back, and I'm yelling at the TV. And my grandma literally comes into my room, and she's just like, you're worse than your grandfather, and shuts his door.
Oh my God. That's amazing. I'm just picturing, because I mean, you're just very passionate about it, and I can just see just the energy that you have talking about it, and just I can just ramping that up like 20 times more. I could just see it. That's great. I think that's
It's my
amazing.
love.
Hey, that's great. I mean, I'm a big sports fan myself. My Dodgers won the World Series.
Well, congratulations. I'm not gonna hate on. I don't hate on anybody unless you're a Red Sox fan. Then I pick on you.
I understand. No, I actually went to Game 4, and it was incredible. You know, like the crazy.
That's
game.
awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't full capacity, obviously, but it still was like such an experience. So,
I'm so jealous. I only said I would go if the Yankees made it. I was not going. I was not wasting my money.
I understand. I'm waiting though. I really want that Yankees Dodgers series like that. I hope though
too.
Yeah, it's gonna be incredible. I hope it happens though when like like a full stadium, because like those are two of like the best stadiums like ever. So
they really like. I wouldn't say LA Stadium is really all that nice, to be quite honest, because the traffic and
you're right.
In and of itself, LA just fucking sucks. I'm a New Yorker, okay? I don't like LA. It's just how this works. The only thing that they have going for them is In-N-Out, okay? That is it. That is all they have.
I understand. No, I was born in LA, but I lived in San Diego most of my life, so like I kind of.
San Diego is dope.
San Diego's so slept on. It's just so chill. The beach.
It's a military town, and they're like, we're getting day drunk over here. Fuck off.
Yeah, but awesome. So what are your thoughts on the Yankees current squad? Like, do you have any favorite players? Do you want anyone out of there, or would you rather not say? I don't know. I'm just asking, but like.
I have no problem telling Gary Sanchez to pack up his bags and get the fuck off my team any day of the week. Fuck you. Get away from me. I'm done with your bullshit. J.A. bye. So excited that you're gone. Finally. Gio Urshela, if you do not fucking give that man more money, and if you do not give DJ LeMahieu a fucking 4-year, about maybe $80 million contract, I will come to Yankee Stadium and rip Hal Steinbrenner a new asshole, okay? Bring back Gardner for a day just so we can all say goodbye to him. I hate Stanton, but he was actually doing a good job. But the thing is, he gets so fucking injured. He's so injury prone. So is Judge. I'm done with it. I'm done with both of them. Everybody's just like, but Judge is like, that's great. He's great with the press. Congratulations. You did a good job in pressing people through a camera. Guess what? A lot of people do that on a regular basis. That doesn't mean they're really good at what they do.
Your job there is to win games, not,
not get injured 24/7 and talk to the press correctly. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. I don't care. I don't care if you're Derek Jeter-esque, because guess what? Derek Jeter-esque is also producing and not getting injured 24/7. So if you can hit that spot, then we can have a conversation. But if you're not going to, if I was going to have a team captain, it's Garrett Cole. That guy's a captain. That guy literally knows what's up, and I love it.
He's amazing. He's worth the money. He's like one of the few, like, all these contracts that people give out, like for instance, the Dodgers giving Mookie Betts all that money, right? Like, yeah, they won, but like in about 3-4 years, they're gonna regret it. Like
it's crazy. Like, I understand Garrett Cole's contract is still, like, his contract is fucking stupid. But he's so young still. Yeah, but it's still too long. Those last few years are going to be terrible for us to keep it with. But at the end of the day, if he figures out a way to bang out those years, cool.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening. It doesn't make any logical sense. Like, no pitcher does that. So, like, look, give her to Gary Sanchez. I'm done seeing his face. I'm tired of it. Bye. Figure out what you're doing with Gleyber Torres, because Gleyber Torres is not that great of a shortstop or a second baseman. It's not that he's not great. He's just a 23-year-old who still has a lot of fucking growing up to do. So there's that. Give the fucking man a blank check. Give him a blank check. If you don't, you are fucking this team over so badly, and you're just signing our death wish. Your father, and by your father I mean Hal, George is turning in his grave over and over again. Like, I gave you the golden ticket. You're a trust fund baby all your life, and I gave you my prized possession, and you're turning it into shit. You can just feel it. You just feel that he's like yelling at his son in his sleep. What are you doing?
I believe it. I mean, George was just such a winner, you know?
Yes. He's like, if we don't win, no.
Yeah.
We didn't do what we accomplished. We had a shitty season then. Did we win the championship? No. All right, then we fucked up. This entire season is a wash. We fucked it all up. And Hal sitting over here like, I wouldn't call it unsuccessful. It's unsuccessful. Stop reading to the freaking, like, nope, Dani, shut up.
It's World Series or bust. I mean, that's what makes the Yankees so great. Teams like the Steelers, the Patriots, the Lakers, the Celtics.
What's your football team?
What's that?
What's your football team?
The Buffalo Bills. Because I'm
interesting. Was not seeing that coming. Anyways.
Well, I live in Buffalo now, so like I.
That doesn't mean that you're still. Yeah. That doesn't mean your favorite team is the Buffalo Bills. It just
I know.
Means
I grew into it. The fans here are awesome, but I mean I used to love the Chargers. I just have a hat sitting so I can plug them. No, it actually was on the chair here, but.
Okay, I have hats
I
all
grew
over
up watching.
The place.
I grew up watching the Chargers in San Diego. You know, all those great teams with LaDainian Tomlinson and just they got so close. But I didn't like the move to LA. I thought it was whack because I mean San Diego's awesome, but they don't have a lot of sports going for them. You know, I mean I think they're doing a good job.
They got a dope guy on the Padres.
I love Fernando. Like, he's amazing. He's great.
He's great. I love it. He's definitely going to bring the sport back to life a little bit.
I think so. He's like going to be he's phenomenal.
I'm really pissed he apologized though. I'm still mad at him for that.
I know. What the hell? Like, just be you. Like, that's
like fuck the BBWAA and their stupid unwritten rules. Fuck them. Goodbye. I blame them for everything, by the way. They're like a mob. I hate them. No. I shouldn't say I hate them because like they'll keep me out of like becoming a journalist in the baseball association, but I'm like, fuck you. A typical New Yorker. Fuck you. I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah. Did you see the news today about Alex Cora back with Reds? I think that's such bullshit. Like, are you kidding? Like,
what?
Yeah.
What? Oh, we're going to just fire you for a year because you're going to end up not being able to do anything for a year. And then we're just going to hire you back and then you could cheat again. It's fine.
Right?
Like apparently cheating is just accepted now in anything. Just you could just blatantly cheat and it's okay, and you just get away with it. It's fine. We're not going to do anything. You don't get punished for cheating anymore.
No.
What?
I know. I saw that a couple hours ago and I was like, I had to bring it up on the pod. And I'm mind blown by it just because they fired him. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck the Red Sox. I'm with you on that. So
yeah, fuck those guys. And they're the ones who are like, well, fuck you. Like, so a good friend of a good family friend who I personally just huge Red Sox fan. And we had this whole idea when we went to London together, and that we would make these videos, and whoever's team was winning or losing, we would just go back and forth at each other, and then I could make a whole YouTube video out of it. As soon as the Red Sox started losing, I hope you're not posting any of this. Excuse me?
We had a deal.
Like, we had a deal, bro. Like, but that's the definition of a Red Sox fan. Like, we're going to be all like, shove it down your throat. And then when we lose, we're going to go cry about it and tell you not to do things after we made a promise about it. Fuck you.
That's lame. That's
the only thing that I like about Massachusetts is Salem. Otherwise, the rest of it can go away.
I like Dunkin' Donuts. That's about it. And I mean, I've got friends from Mass, so like, I'm not going to.
I have friends in Massachusetts as well. My best friend lives in Massachusetts with her boyfriend. But at the end of the day, bye. I mean, they do also print money there, so that's definitely something that I do like.
Yeah.
That is something that they do. So maybe okay, you got two things going for you. You got Salem and you print some money. That's it.
Other than that, see it.
Bye.
One thing that I always bring up though on the show is like mental health. Just like whether it's like, because I interview artists or like people in entertainment or whatever. But obviously I think it's another topic that's not talked about enough too, but also within sports. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to just touch on like mental health in sports. I don't have any specific questions jotted down or like any, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts. Do you think that like it's a big thing with sports? Because I know like there's NBA players that have opened up, and like I'm not trying to make it seem like it's a sorry excuse for like losing and stuff. Like, oh yeah, like I was, but like at the end of the day, they are human.
No, it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
But that's why, see, this is why I hate analytics, is because most of the game of baseball is mental. Like yogiisms are hysterical, but most of these games are mental. Like Yogi did have a point that game's 90% mental. Like that is so true, because if you're not in the right mental state, how, like, all games are about mind fucking somebody else. How, if you're not in the right mental state, how are you supposed to go fuck with somebody else? Like, you're here, you're a pitcher and you're a catcher. The two of you are working together to mess with the batter, to think that a fastball is coming, but really a curveball is coming, or a sinker's coming, but really something. Like, you're sitting there trying to figure that out, to fuck with the batter mentally. If you're not mentally there, you're not going to mentally throw that ball the way that you're supposed to. You're not going to mentally hit that ball the way that you need to. You're not going to swing fast enough, because all of a sudden, boom, an image of like whatever's bothering you comes up when you're supposed to swing the ball. So now you're struck out. These are real factors. If you go into that game messed up, that game's you're tanking that game. If you get shook up during a game, you're tanking that game. You can end up like rallying yourself back up and be like, we got this. Like, you can do that, but it's so hard. And I mean, like, that's why they always say the Yankee mound is the hardest mound, because the fans are assholes. Like, if you fuck up, we're going to let you know for about 3 innings until you make it up to us. So you got to be okay with fucking up if you're a Yankee fan, like if you're a Yankee, because you have to be okay with everybody being like, you fucked up. Like that, it's a very big mental challenge for these guys. And it's not just like, you could add literal like mental disorders into this too. Like, some guys have them, but there's also just depression and sadness and worry and fear. And those things all together can create a fucked up game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, because it's like at the end of the day, these players are human and they have families and wives and kids, and you know, and
you get into a fight with your wife right before the game. Now that's all you're thinking about.
Right.
I mean, some guys aren't. They don't give a shit. But some guys are. And some guys are like, fuck, my wife is upset and I can't go call her until I'm done with this game. Like, I got to finish my work, but I want to make sure that my girl's okay. Like, that's a thing. Or like, your kid is sick at home, but you have to go out there and pitch this game. Like, these are they sound like minuscule things. But they're big things for a human being. Sometimes you got to stop thinking of these guys as just like a paycheck and a player, and remember that these guys are humans. So they're bound to mess up. And that's definitely something that I've learned while doing the podcast and befriending some of the players and being like, okay, you're human. Like, I can't just, so like, if I see one of the guys that I've met, like, mess up, I'm like, it's okay. You just played like 3 weeks, your greatest games that you've ever played, and then you messed up one day. Like, maybe you just had a bad day. Maybe you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Maybe you didn't get any sleep last night because you suffer from insomnia. Like, I have one of the pitchers on the Yankees is a good friend of mine, and he suffers from insomnia. I'll get messages from him at 5 o'clock in the morning, like, hey, I'm bored. And I'm like, dude, you got a game in like a few, what are you doing? Go to bed.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you're going to end up pitching tomorrow and we're fucked. Go to bed.
Exactly.
So, like,
that's a great point.
They're huge factors. Like, mental illness and mental, just mental shit going on really does affect games and how a player plays. And that's why I hate analytics, because it's just like, well, he should do really good against this player. Well, what if he woke up on the wrong side of the bed today? He's not going to pitch. He's not going to do shit.
Yeah. And I mean,
a computer doesn't have those things in.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, going a little, and we can talk about how analytics mess up the flow. I mean, I think Kevin Cash blew that World Series game.
Kevin Cash is trash.
Yes.
Kevin Cash is trash. Why the fuck would you take out Snell when he was pitching a great fucking game and he was in it? He was in it to win it. He was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's the difference between a good manager and a bad manager. Bad manager takes him out. A good manager, the guy walks up there and he's just like, no. When he says, no, man, I am here and I'm going to win it, just like Paxton did. He's like, let's fucking go. Let's go. And Boone was like, all right, let's go. And just let him keep going. That's the difference. That's the major difference. I mean, boot is trash as well. Don't get me wrong, but like, you need to trust your players.
Exactly.
If you don't trust them, then your game's screwed.
Like, so what? He hasn't gone past 6 innings, and like his numbers are. But like, you're in the World Series. If he's dealing, you keep him in. You trust. And if he messes up, then you take the blame. But he probably. I mean, I think the Rays probably would have won that game if he would have stayed in. I think. But
Agreed.
I mean, you never know. What if? You don't know. But it's wild. And seeing Snell, he was pissed. He was
pissed. He was in that. He was like, I will get this game. I will fix whatever mess ups I make. I got this. He was in that game to win that game. You leave those you leave those types in.
Yeah, and you can just tell he was dialed in. But that was a sidebar. But the whole mental health thing with players, also people I don't think taken, because like these players are getting paid a lot. It's like more money, more problems. It's like, I mean, you don't know. They could be just, recklessly spending their money and they go broke, and it's just like it affects their performance. Or
that tends to happen more with like football players and stuff like that, because they have shorter contracts and big money, but shorter contracts, and then they get hurt, and then that shit's gone. That actually happens a lot more with football players than it does with baseball players.
I completely agree. Yeah,
but it's really sad. No, it truly is. But that's why you get an accountant, and you're fucking that's not mental health. That's intelligence.
That's true.
That's purely intelligence. That's like you signed up for this life. So you now are like, okay, I'm getting paid a shit ton of money, and I'm probably going to be like, I took too many fucking 8 balls in the bathroom with this stripper the other night, because don't tell me that they don't do that. I know they do. They're over there to be like, okay, maybe I should get an accountant and make sure I don't do anything wrong. And maybe I should surround myself with the right people that aren't just taking from me, that I'm just paying off. Like, that's another thing. You can't surround yourself with toxic people, because toxic people are just going to pull that money right out of your pocket, and then you'd be left with nothing.
Yeah.
Like, what was that movie, Southpaw?
Yeah.
And he got to winning, and then his wife died, and then everything just went down, and he only had one friend left. That just goes to show you.
Yeah, it's...
Sports world is a scary world.
It is, because I mean, you get drafted, you get signed, you're doing well, and everyone's gonna be trying to get you to do stuff or whatever. And it's like you got to have a core group of people around you. I mean, one of the most fascinating athletes is LeBron James. The dude there's never been really a mess up with him, and like in the media or just like that has come out, just because he has.
Other than he says some really stupid shit.
Well,
he does say stupid shit.
Yeah, but he's human. But like
everybody, no, 100%.
My point is though, he has like a very core group of people that have been with him since like high school. So like he's like doing all this stuff, and like it seems like his, what's the word for it? His
kind of like the movie Entourage.
Yeah, exactly. But his like his brand is just squeaky clean. Like it's like almost hard to find like. It doesn't. I mean, his son slipped up like smoking weed on Instagram on accident.
That's not slipping up. They live in Los Angeles.
Oh, I know. But like, everyone painted that as like, what the heck? But yeah, whatever.
Who wasn't smoking weed in their father's basement or some shit like that when they were a teenager? Not saying that I did, but I just know a shit ton of people who did.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, not to just go throw myself out there, but I'm literally saying, like, come on. Everybody's been a kid once and experimented with something. I can definitely tell you all of them were drinking alcohol.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Switching gears a little bit. I kind of want to, I'm a big like movie guy, film guy. I kind of want to talk about movies. I see you got a little Iron Man figure behind you. So I kind of want
to. He makes sounds. Wait.
Thor, bring down the lightning.
Oh, that's amazing.
I think he does like, wait. I'm a child. No, I can only get this guy to stand back up correctly. Stay, please don't fall. Thank you. But yeah, no, I'm a massive geek. I have a baby's backpack with all of the old characters on it, like the original drawings of the characters. I've had this for 4 years. It is broken. Okay. When I say broken, I mean like this zipper doesn't work. It's broken, but I refuse to use any other backpack because it's literally, you can't find it anywhere. Nowhere. Can't find that backpack anywhere.
I haven't seen it, so it's special.
So, I'm like, that's my baby.
So you're bigger. I'm taking you're a bigger Marvel fan than DC, or like what's
Marvel all day, any day. Iron Man is the love of my life. Tony Stark is the love of my life and has been since I was about 8 years old.
Wow. Was that around when the first movie came out, or is that just like from?
No, the first of like these past 10 years came out in 2008.
Right.
So okay. You can ask my family because nobody else believes me except for my family because they're like, yes, we know Dani. So there's two things that I've always wanted in this world. I've always loved Angelina Jolie in Tomb Raider. And I have been in love with Robert Downey Jr. since I saw him in Weird Science. I grew up with the greatest family in the world who gave me culture and John Hughes. I literally have, I think I can take this off the wall. Nope, I can't. I have to the right of me The Breakfast Club, which is my favorite freaking movie, and a picture of Brian smoking a joint because it's just hysterical. And like John Hughes has always been my favorite director and writer. He wrote Home Alone, which most people don't know.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, so he wrote Home Alone. That was him. And I'm like, no wonder why I love this movie so much. But so my dad first showed me this and he's like, do you want to watch another one of these movies? I'm like, yeah. And then he showed me Weird Science. And I'm like, Dad, who's that? And it was Robert Downey Jr. with his little gap tooth at the time or whatever. And I was just like, I like him, Dad. And my dad's like, son of a bitch. He's like, can we not like the drug addict? He's a drug addict now, Dani. He shoots up heroin. Like this was like time of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Shooting up heroin, being like super going to jail all the time, saying one of my favorite quotes in the world, which is really dark, but when I don't care, I'm saying it. So when he was arrested again and he went to see the judge again, the judge is like, why do you keep doing this? And he's just like, well, Judge, it's like putting a gun in my mouth and saying I like the taste of steel. And it was the most powerful quote on addiction that I've ever heard. And I'm like, oh my God. I obviously didn't know this until I was older and I started doing more research on Robert Downey Jr. But I've loved Robert Downey Jr. I've seen every single one of his movies from Less Than Zero to pick a Marvel movie to even Doolittle, which is a recent movie. Like I've seen everything he's done. I love him. And anyways, so Angelina Jolie, and my favorite Disney character was Maleficent. And I begged my mother and my father, because my father was a publicist in Hollywood for like this short period of time. And then he was like, screw this shit. I'm just going to work in politics. But for this short period of time. And I was like, Daddy, can you make Angelina Jolie Maleficent? And he's like, how am I supposed to? I'm like, she would be perfect. She looks just like her. She would be perfect. And he's like, how the fuck? Yeah, we'll figure it out. Don't worry. And I'm like, oh, Angelina Jolie's going to be Maleficent. Fast forward, Angelina Jolie becomes Maleficent, and I am screaming in my house. And like, I call my mom, and I'm like, Mom! She's like, how the fuck did you do that? I'm like, I don't know, but this is the greatest day of my life. But it was a really cool moment. And I'm like, oh my God. So second was, Iron Man. If nobody knows this character really well, Iron Man struggled with addiction. He struggled with his knowledge. He struggled with all of this stuff. And like, he was an alcoholic and he battled through that. And it's probably the greatest character development ever is Iron Man in a comic book. You watch this guy, he's got one of the greatest character developments that I've ever seen as a comic. And I love how they depicted it in the movie as well. But literally, when I kept reading these books, like, oh my, I saw Weird Science before I started reading Iron Man. I started reading Iron Man because, again, I'm dyslexic. And my aunt decided to tell me, my brother, and my cousin that however many books we read was how much money we would get in Disney World when we went to go to Disney World one year. And I was crying because I can't read as fast as either one of them. Like they were going through books and books and books, and I was still stuck on the first one. And I'm like, I can't do it. And I'm trying to read, and I'm faking it. And they're like, what happened? And I'm like, you can't lie. Like, I didn't know what happened. I couldn't do it. And then my mom looked at me and she's just like, are you having a hard time? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, can I just read comic books? And she's like, yes, you can just read comic books. So I read all of the comic books I could possibly find on Iron Man. And I fell in love. And I was like, Mom, can Robert Downey Jr. play this character? He's a drug addict and so is he. And my mom's like, how do you pick this up? You're 10 years old. How are you doing this? I'm like, but look at this. Like, he's an alcoholic. I know that it's different, but he's an alcoholic. And then he ends up becoming Iron Man. And then my mom just is just shaking her head like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm happy. Nothing else needs to happen in this world. I am content. Except I want to meet Will Smith. That is all.
Wow.
So, Iron Man gave me my love for Marvel, and then the Avengers is probably my favorite as well. So this whole MCU universe shit for the past 10 years, if you ever watch those reaction videos to what's happening in the movie, I'm definitely one of those people going, oh my God, during the movie. And like, yeah, just, I won't get into that, but I cannot watch Endgame without falling into a puddle of tears. Like it's my boyfriend picks on me because we watch Marley and Me, and I'm just sitting there. Like, I'm not crying. I'm not doing anything. Nothing is coming out of me. And he's just like, and he's like in tears. He's like, Howard, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, you could put Iron Man on right now and I'll start crying if that's what you want.
Oh man. I think that's awesome that you originated with the comics. Cause like I, truthfully, I never really read them growing up, but I saw Iron Man, like the movie, like when it came out, and I was like, this is so cool. And then I fell in love with all the other ones.
And the best part is they did so well too. Like, it wasn't obviously the originals and stuff like that, but they did so well to incorporate a bunch of comics into one movie, and like how he made the suit and it was amazing because those things happened. And like, but there's some deleted scenes that aren't shown in the movie. But Iron Man doesn't just like leave his house in Malibu and fly over to Iran and just like blow shit up. What he does is he goes to Dubai and then he flies out of that house. And they made that in the movie, but it just made it too long. And they're like, screw it, we'll just have him fly out of here because it's a movie. You can't incorporate everything. It's not going to work. And it was fucking dope. MCU has done such an amazing job to their fans in creating these movies that like, if you aren't crying at the end of Endgame, there's something wrong with you. They did such a good job. Like, you're sitting there, like I was getting chills because I was just like, DC fucked all of its fans over, except for with Batman. Batman's the only thing that did correctly. But all of their movies, they fucked over DC fans.
Yeah.
But you watch these movies and you're just like, they love us. Like, that's all I could think about. I'm like, they gave me chills. I'm like, they did the right thing towards us, and it was amazing.
I love it because I'm obsessed with like the Marvel movies. Just like, one, because they pay attention. The reason why they were able to do, the 22, 23 movies or whatever it was, so well is because they pay attention to such detail, where it was just like one little thing ties into the next. And they focused. They
also had Disney money too. That helped.
Yeah. I mean, they got there after the success of the Avengers. After the Avengers happened, they did the deal. But because Iron Man was such a risky project, and like it did well, and they're like, okay, we might have something here. And
it wasn't. So the funny part is, if you watch all the interviews, because Nerd Geek obsessed with Iron Man, and the fact that Robert Downey Jr. actually became him, and I was just like, oh my God, my future husband is my future husband. And like,
you've seen
my.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was saying,
tell me to shut up. I don't stop talking.
No, you've seen like the casting interviews with him, right? Where like it's like I do a lot of research on like I'll watch the movie and then I just do a shit ton of research just to get backstory. And what I found out was that Robert Downey Jr. was their guy, but it was such a risk. And then I think Favreau, the director, was like, he's the one. Like, we got to take a chance if he. And then they did, and like obviously, like he was born to play that role. Like
literally born to play that role. That's why, like when I was a kid, I was just like, this is perfect. Like if anybody was to play this role, it's him. Like if you see him in any of his movies, he plays this cocky little prick, and he plays such a great. I don't care what movie you watch, any of his movies, even Chaplin, like you watch, he is a fucking amazing actor. And then on top of that, like I've just watched interviews with Robert Downey Jr. The guy is a genius. And what makes me so excited to watch, there's a, I forgot what it's called, but there's if you just type in Robert Downey Jr. on Netflix, there's an interview with him with one of his friends.
Yeah. Is it
with
on
that photographer? It's on Netflix.
It's not the David Letterman one, is it?
No, not that one. I didn't even know that existed because I never knew David Letterman was back. Didn't know that.
Right.
So all of my friends were like, you didn't see this? And I was like, wait, David Letterman didn't die? Like, I did not know that he was still on television, kind of, sort of.
This giant beard like he's been hiding, and then it's like Netflix probably threw him a check.
No.
Like, all right, like let's do this.
No, but there's another one where it's in black and white. And my favorite thing is
I think I know what you're talking about. Is it with Sam Jones or whatever?
I think that's the guy's name.
Yeah.
But if you really pay attention and like watch that interview, one, I love how nervous he is and how like he has to take on the persona when I'll get into that in a second, but you could see him like fiddling with his jacket. Like I do the same thing. Like I'm down here fiddling with my sweatshirt. It's just a thing that, people do like out of nerve and out of ADHD and all of those other things. Like you have to keep yourself to be able to focus on the conversation. You have to be doing something else. So, and it's also nerves. So like I have a little stress duck that I play with too. And my goal is to have him on my podcast with my best friend. That's like my ultimate goal, and hand hit this to him and be like, here you go. You could use this when you're needing to like pull on something or fuck up with something. But during that interview, he keeps answering his friend's questions with a very intellectual speak. He's very intelligent in the way he talks and the way he presents himself. And then you could see the guy going, what the fuck is this guy saying? And then Robert Downey Jr. re-explains exactly what he says, but he just dumbs it down. And I'm like, you don't have to dumb it down. I knew what you were saying. Like, oh my, like the guy isn't pure. He literally is a genius, especially when it comes to his acting, and he can portray pretty much any role. He carried two amazing series, Iron Man and Sherlock Holmes, and he did it perfectly. Those roles are perfect for him. Both of them addicts, and both of them geniuses. Like, the guy is very, very intelligent. And when he was doing interviews about Iron Man, he's like, honestly, this was the scariest movie I've ever done because I had to portray a guy of pure confidence. And he doesn't have all that much confidence after being an addict, and after this is his first movie back sober. That is a big fucking deal. So like a lot was on the line with this movie, and it was a fucking hit. They did it so well. He played the character so well. Like, thank you, Robert Downey Jr. and the director that I can never remember his name, Happy. He just plays Happy, so that's all that matters to me. They did such a good job. And that entire 10 years was held on the back of Robert Downey Jr., and he did it. He did it.
And then they paid it off so well. Like his character arc and develop.
They did everything.
I cried so hard in the theater. I was just like.
So again, super nerd. Seen every single movie in theater except for Endgame because I read the comics. I already knew the ending of the movie. Plus, you could see the lead up to it. So Iron Man has always died in his comics, so a weird, tragic death, but always comes back to life. And if you've paid attention to the movies, he kind of dies and then comes back to life. Like he disappears and he becomes the mechanic, and then he comes back to life. Like he's not dead and all of this shit. So.
Oh, no way. So that makes sense in Iron Man 3 when he's the mechanic. Yes. He's presumed dead. Okay.
He's presumed dead. So those are parts. So they added those things in. Yeah. And he dies a very there's a comic book. Fuck, which one was it? Whatever, not going to go there. But there's a comic book cover where he dies in the arms of Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Like that was an actual thing. I can't remember which fucking comic. My brain is not working that way.
I don't know the name of it either, but I think I know what you're talking about. I've seen it.
So, but that is like the ultimate death of Iron Man, yada, 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 yada. And that was what was portrayed in this. And I'm sitting, and it was a huge battle. And I think it was against, I'm not 100% sure who it was against, but I think it was the Thanos one. Either way, honestly does not matter at this point. But I knew what was going to happen. And my best friend and roommate at the time was just like, have you gone to see the movie yet? I'm like, I'm not going to see that movie in the theater. Are you nuts? Are you crazy? I was like, First off, Stan Lee is dead. You think I'm going to go see that movie and Stan Lee is dead? They probably have some tribute at the end and I'm going to bawl my eyes out. No, it is not happening. And then I was like, and Iron Man's going to die. Why would I go see that? She's like, how do you know? I'm like, I've read the comic books for the 1,000th fucking time. Like, I know what's going to happen. I'm not going to subject myself to bawling tears because they last. So when I saw the movie finally in my room, like I got off of work, I ran to my house, I put the movie on and I stayed up all the way up and I watched it. And literally just from the moment that he sees Spider-Man, I am crying. And I'm like, okay, I got this. And then all of a sudden he dies. And I'm like, for 5 hours. And I'm not even kidding you. It was 5 hours because like, as soon as I thought I was going to like the end of the movie came, I'm still crying. Movie's done. I'm still crying. They're doing all of like the end credits or whatever. And then they do a Stan Lee tribute. And then I just start bawling even more because now now I'm reminded that Stan Lee passed away. And it was 5 hours. I had voice messages to my assistant, to my mother, to my father, to my stepmom. I'm like, if you ever want to see me cry, just put on Endgame. Like it was bad. And I still cry that much. Like I'll see Iron Man, like Tony Stark, the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, it's so bad.
Wow. See, they tricked me. I mean, like I knew a death was coming, but like the movie is so awesome that like you kind of forget about it and like they trick you in a sense and they just bring you along and it obviously happens. And I don't know, they just did such an amazing job. I do out of the two though, I do prefer Infinity War. I think that's just like that movie.
Infinity War was great. Oh God, 100%. I mean, the build up of Endgame was really annoying, but it was the battle. If you put just from the battle scene to the end, it's the shit. But Infinity War is definitely great, especially because they gave the villain his story.
It was a Thanos movie, which was awesome. It wasn't just like good. Thanos is just this big bad evil guy. It's like they tried to really make him human and like sympathize with him in a sense. Like he like really cares about Gamora and he thinks he's right. Like he's not just like trying to snap all of life out of him. He like thinks it's right because the world is unjust and not balanced, and it's pretty spectacular. So, and just the balancing act, because they have had all the characters and like they were all alive for the whole thing, and they have to jump around, and then it's like then it kind of comes into 2 acts with on Titan and then on Wakanda, and it's just crazy. Yeah.
Wakanda.
I'm
not even gonna go there, but Wakanda.
I know.
Hold on, get it. That man needs more props than anybody could ever give somebody because he had fucking cancer throughout all of those movies. All of them. He was battling cancer through all of those boss-ass movies. Like,
without complaining or telling it, he's a true hero. Like, he...
Bow down. I bow down to thee.
I really hope, though, Marvel, like, finds a way to write his character out and, like, they do a new Black Panther. Not like maybe Shuri or somebody else takes the mantle, or they just like
so in the comic books the sister ends up taking the throne or taking over Black Panther's situation. So I think that's what they're just going to do. And if they don't do that, they're going to do all of their fans a disjustice when they've done all they've done is take care of their fans. So I have a feeling that they're just going to hand it off to the sister.
I think so.
They're supposed to anyways.
If they just recast them, like people are going to be so upset. Like they're going to be like, what the hell? And what the fuck, dude? Like, what? Because like T'Challa is black, or Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. Like it's like kind of like how like all these Marvel actors, like they are their characters. Like Chris Evans is Captain America. Like
Oh
Chris
no,
Evans,
they
it's
they
like
found the perfect people.
yeah, you're not recasting these people ever. Like
And they finally found the perfect Spider-Man, and
Tom
nobody
Holland
agrees with that.
yeah, he's terrific.
Who was
Terrific.
the first one? Oh my god, what's his name?
Tobey Maguire.
Like I get that everybody
Yeah.
loves him, but Tom Holland is literally Spider-Man is a teenager.
Yeah, he looks like a teenager. Yeah, even though Tom Holland I think is like
Perfect.
24, but
Yeah, he looks like a child.
yeah, no, he looks 16 to me. So
Mhm.
that's
But
why
it's
his movies work.
so perfect. So
Lots of the
perfect.
cast really. I mean, it's just like, or even like the new movie that I'm excited about because I know nothing about really is the Eternals, and they just have this crazy Angelina Jolie's in it.
I can't wait to see that. I'm wondering like how that's going to be, especially because like I'm just wondering. I know she's going to do a great job. She's a great actress, but
like all these characters, like you look at the names of them, you're like, who the heck is this? Like, I mean, me not having a background in the comics, I don't know really, and I don't know. My speculation is they're going to explain how like what like the snap like the snaps and all that radiation and all that how it it affects
it's not.
the
That's
Earth,
not what's gonna. It's really gonna just be more of like
the origin
the.
of it all. Yeah.
It's gonna. So this universe that we're coming to right now is going to X-Men versus the Avengers. That's the next.
The Secret
That's the
Wars.
second phase.
The Secret Wars, or is that no?
It's literally called X-Men versus the Avengers.
Oh, that's so
Avengers
awesome.
versus X-Men.
Let's go.
So it's gonna be it, and it's gonna be all of these characters, but one and like the two strongest characters are technically two X-Men because Scarlet Witch is a mutant, and so is Phoenix. Why is her name? X-Men was never my huge thing.
Yeah.
Avengers was,
Jean
but
Grey.
it's
Jean Grey.
sure. I don't know. Phoenix, whatever.
The
Something dark. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that's it. But she's like one of the most powerful. Which, by the way, a lot of people always like say like comic books this, comic books that, but and like this one guy I was talking to was really mad about that whole woman's scene in Avengers. They're like, yeah, but it was just so misplaced. What are you fucking talking about?
That was awesome.
Stan Lee. It was awesome, but Stan Lee has given the two most powerful characters in his entire fucking world that he has created are women.
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix and a fucking Scarlet Witch are the two most powerful people there are, and those two go head to head. And I think I didn't really go through all of those comics. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but I think it's the true battle between the two of them.
I'm not exactly sure, but I think you're probably right.
From my comic book brain,
Yeah.
like that, it's truly the two. But it's like because they are the very powerful characters, so it's going to be super freaking interesting to see, and I'm very, very, very excited for it. And I just want to see how Deadpool is going to be incorporated.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Deadpool. I love him, Ryan Reynolds, and but he's perfect for Deadpool. But
he
also
is Deadpool.
Yeah, no, he was born for that. It's just like kind of how Hugh Jackman is like Wolverine. Like,
oh yeah, my favorite. Like, I love how he always jokes around with them, and Ryan Reynolds is just pure comedy. He's my favorite kind of comedy. And when he stepped away from that comedic way, I was so upset. I'm like, no, where's Van Wilder? I want Van Wilder back. Like, where is my funny Ryan Reynolds that just makes sassy comments that are so good and so sarcastic that they win life? And then he became Deadpool, and I'm like, there he is.
Perfect. Another interesting, I think, well, at least the immediate future, they're doing like the whole multiverse thing because of like the second Doctor Strange film and these Disney Plus shows. And so I don't know. The rumor is, but Spider-Man 3 is they're somehow like the old Spider-Man are going to be incorporated somehow. Like they're not going to have a role, but like they're going to have a cameo, like teasing that the like multiverse has been opened up or something. I don't know. That's just like the rumors. Because like Doctor Strange, I guess the new Doctor Strange movie is going to be the next like big scale movie that's not like an Avengers film, kind of like how Civil War was, I guess. So but we'll see. So
I'm
really,
interested.
really, really cool stuff. I'm super happy though that you're a huge Marvel fan. That's
psychotic.
yeah. It's like an addiction at this point. You know,
It
Not
really
even
is. There's
addiction, but
two
it's just-
things. There's two things I love: Yankees and Marvel. Oh, three.
and tequila. Yeah, 3 things.
Three things.
That's great. Those are the 3 important things. You know, like
Oh, 100%. Without those things, I don't think I could be human.
now they're like what keep you sane almost.
Yep.
What
Except for
like
Endgame.
oh I understand. What other interests do you have besides those 3, or do you just focus on 3 things?
I mean, I have my spiritual interests. I'm definitely a witchy woo-woo person. If you can't see, like, I have like a skull right here. I have stones all over the place. I have like a whole wall dedicated to like feng shui, technically. So like, I am very witchy in a way, but I'm not like a culty weird witchy. I'm just like, I believe in working with the earth and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm a little bit of a hoarder when it comes to it as well. I have stuff everywhere. Like I have stones all over my desk. It's a little aggressive. I have a dragon as well. He just chills in my desk. I'm weird. So there's that part of me. Oh, sorry, Mike. But I don't know. I dabble in a little bit of everything. I kind of always say that I'm a jack of all trades. Like I know a little bit about everything, and if I don't know anything on it, I'm not going to sit here and say I do because I don't want to look like an idiot.
Okay, that's totally fair.
I am also a nerd in a topic that I will never ever talk about, which is politics, because I've grown up with a history major, and my father and my grandmother were in politics all of my life, but I keep my views to myself because it's just the polite thing to do. Like you don't, like I have an opinion, you have an opinion, and
Yeah.
I respect your opinion. Like that's at least how I was raised, and that's I don't care. Like no matter what, like I could be talking to somebody from China who believes in communism, and I'm over here like I live in a capitalist country, and I'll be like, I respect your opinion. That is yours to have, and you enjoy that in your country. I'm going to enjoy what I love in my country. Like that kind of stuff. Like not saying that I'm never, ever going to give my political views out there, but it's just an example. So
That's cool.
I'm definitely very not involved, but like I'm very nerdy and geeky when it comes to that kind of stuff too.
I think
I like researching
yeah.
stuff, and I like history.
That's cool. History is awesome, and so are politics, but I think it's not obviously not going to get into it, but I just think that what you said is super important, because I just feel like today it's so like, if you don't think like me, it's fuck you. And it's like, whoa, like
yes.
I got
Yes.
just because
Whatever happened to that middle ground, that like I respect you have an opinion, and like the crazy, not to get into it, but there's like, you know, if you're this, you're all of these things. But it's like, no, I believe in certain aspects of this that make me go this direction, but I don't believe in everything. Like that's why I consider it, like that's why most people go, no, I'm like a moderate. Like I see both sides, like, and there should be no sides, but I see both situations and both things that are going on, and I'm like, okay, I agree with these things and I agree with these things. So like I'm kind of down the middle, because like you make sense and you make sense. This shit don't make sense. This shit don't make sense. And like you base it off of logic and fact, and that's kind of that's how I was raised. And I also know a little bit more than most people do, because I have people in politics, so I've seen the shady shit that goes on, and the things that get slid under the rug, and I'm like,
oh
I'm gonna go back in my room and I'm gonna hide and color in my coloring book. That's literally me when I was a kid. Like my dad working in politics, I would just go and be like, I have my little coloring book, I'm gonna go draw in over here. I didn't hear anything, nothing. All right, cool. So,
well,
speaking of my grandpa.
I appreciate that insight, because it's you know, it's really encouraging and important to hear that there are still people that respect other people's views. So
yeah,
good,
of course.
good on you. Good for being a good person, you know, in society. So, what about music?
Hard to find these days.
Right? Where are they at? What about music? I'm a big music person. I worked in the music industry for a bit as a tour manager, but there's no concerts anymore. So
Let's just put me in the category of I was born in the wrong decade. Like, I am all 80s rock and roll. I listen to AC/DC like it's my job.
makes sense.
By the way, on top of Marvel, they have the greatest freaking soundtracks
Guardians
ever.
of the Galaxy.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy, just loved, but also Iron Man, because I've always loved AC/DC, and makes sense because, whatever. But like, they made some solid fucking soundtracks with some really good old music, and I'm like, respect. Like, just thank you for not screwing us over with music. Thank you for not screwing us over with movies. So yeah, I'm definitely old school. I was raised basically by my father and my grandfather.
I love that classic rock, the '80s, such great tunes, and I always get chills. I mean, going back to the Marvel roots, I always get chills when in the first Avengers movie when Iron Man flies in when they're in Germany and he goes, Agent Roman, you miss me, and he goes over the PA, shoot the thrill, and then like he flies in, he's like, enough reindeer. So cool.
It's so good. Every single time I play that song in the car, because I literally just have a list of all the songs in Marvel, and I'm just like, this is great because this is all my favorite music. I'm just like, Agent Romanoff. So sad. Which, by the way, can we just yell at Disney for a second for releasing Mulan but not releasing Black Widow? Like, do you understand that Marvel fans would have crashed the servers of Disney if that happened? They would have made so much money.
Went way up, but Disney was way too afraid because they, Black Widow probably cost them like $100-200+ million to make and market and all that. So they really they want to at least like make their money back, and it's like, come on,
you're not going to make it. You're going to make it back.
Yeah.
Like, you're just getting straight up profit that way. Now you got to give it to a movie theater and you got to split the profit. What the fuck is the logic?
Yeah, give it back to the fans. Like, but I guess if they would have done that with Black Widow, and it would have probably set off a domino in the movie industry, and I don't think they want to do that. They want to, even though movie theaters aren't really a thing right now, but like they want to keep it somewhat alive for when
Look. Yeah. The only way I'm going to see a movie is if it's at iPick, okay? Like, I need my booze and I need my bougie ass way of watching this movie, okay? Because there's no freaking way. There's no way. Yeah. Some movies suck.
I need the comfortable seats, the
comfortable seats where I lean back. All of a sudden, I can order French fries right to me, and I can say, "Yo, give me a tequila because this movie sucks." Like, I need that.
Yeah, that's the full experience. If you're gonna pay. Whatever it is, $10, $15, $20. It's like, might as well go all out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, this was a great conversation. I mean, when you don't really know someone, it could be very awkward or just like kind of like, yep. I like baseball. Like, oh, cool. But
great conversation, man.
Yeah, this was super fun. But I always I love doing like a little closing thought segment. So obviously this is your opportunity. If you ever want to say something or shout anybody out or just plug, your brand or whatever you want to say, this is like your time to just be check it out, whatever. So what do you got?
Called Iron Man being played by Robert Downey Jr. That is my final thoughts. No, but definitely go search up Dani's Dugout if you guys want to. I'm just Dani Cipolla. It's with a C, not an S. Okay, I'm Italian, peoples. Or if you want to go by Cipolla, that's how it works. But just type in Dani's Dugout anywhere. You can find me. You can find the football podcast, and you'll soon be finding way more than that. We're just slowly building a media company. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, go! Hey,
go Yankees!
Go Yankees! If you're here listening, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for believing in this and checking it out. Dani's an awesome person. And
sorry, I ranted for about 30 minutes of this podcast and don't know how to shut up.
This is great. It was a great conversation. Don't apologize, please. But go check her out. Dani's Dugout, her podcast on Instagram, all that 9 yards. Yeah, that's all I got for y'all. See y'all next week for episode 12.
Yeah.